Face reality, people. Movies are dead. Games are dead. Narrative? Dead.
Media is nothing but neural trigger response and viral conditioning.
Wait, what are you two talking about?
What? I don't lock no doors here, bro. No doors get locked. Ever. Anyways. Alright, Warfare. I watched this last night. And I had thoughts about it. I just didn't have... I got into an argument. Didn't have time to fucking review it. I'll review it now. Okay, it's an attempt at making a, I guess, realistic scenario of what U.S. troops were experiencing during a particular incident, based on a true story. I think the actual guys, some of the guys that survived it or were a part of it, were a part of the storytelling of this or the writing of it, which is like, that's fine for me. It's just... Okay, when people are going to go out of their way and they're going to be like, yo, this is propaganda, I understand with what they're saying. Now, if the movie is actually capturing the essence of what those guys experienced, that is not propaganda to me. That's just expression. I'm okay with that. That's fine and dandy for me. But, once again, I get a little bit worried. I get flinched because I've seen movies like American Sniper, right? Where this guy bullshitted in a book about how many sniper shots, how many kills he had, about, what's his name? Knocking out Jesse Ventura or some shit like that. Right? So I'm like, everything. So, bro, this shit's sus to me now. And of course, there's a reason why I guess certain people might call it propaganda. It's because of the justification of every little maneuver that happens in a war type scenario, especially in America, on the American side, right? Within America, and the movies from the American soldier's perspective, and everything gets kind of justified, and they're like, "Yo, this is propaganda because of that," right? That happens quite a bit. But I think the main point of the movie was to be gruesome and, I guess, attempting to be as realistic as possible. I think that was the attempt of the movie, which for me, it does nothing for me because I try to look for... I can just watch documentaries and get more of a realistic take and all of that shit, right? But I'm saying, once again, the political side of things, where people will be like, "Yo, right? These soldiers, I think they were SEALs, right? Were not shooting at all, right? They were kind of, what's the word? Reconnaissance, I guess, like scoping the area out, type of shit." And then I guess maybe someone spotted them there. And then, boom, grenade gets thrown into their fucking room. Right? And they get shot at, I think. And they get, it was an IED, I think, with the tank. And it's like, boom. Full-blown, justification. And for people that are, once again, if you're like rah-rah America, or even if you're, I don't know, even if you're somewhat balanced, if you're just a balanced person watching something and taking it as being legitimate, as being like, okay, this is probably like close to the real events, done with like cinematic techniques and shit like that. Who shoots first is very important for the audience, I would think, in that scenario. Let's take American soldiers and, quote unquote terrorist or whoever, jihadists, is what a lot of people call it. Let's take that out of the scenario, right, and make it American versus American. Let's say cops and someone pull over by the cops, right? Who causes the aggression is very important, I think, for an audience. Once again, when we watch news stories, we're kind of like, it's not, once again, I'm not trying to dumb it down and say it's not important, like, oh, it's just a silly movie. What I'm saying is, it is very cinematic, though, right? The news coverage, the political point of views, the talking heads, it comes off as cinematic in a way, almost like it's a movie or a narrative that let's be real, none of us were fucking there when it happened. We don't know the exact things. We can't read the minds of the guys there. All right? Thus, in those scenarios, we're trying to figure out, like, okay, who did what first, maybe. Maybe this first reaction caused the rest of the reactions to happen. And the same thing applies to movies. If you had a movie about a cop and them pulling someone over, right? And a director and a writer can show you who did what when, right? Who did something first, right? They could put a mean face on the bad guy, whether it's the cop or the fucking driver, right? They could put a mean face on them and be like, okay, this guy's the bad guy. He's going to cause trouble. And boom, the guy causes trouble, and they're the cause of what's happening here, right? You could tell a narrative, a story with that. And same here. Yes, same here. Like it's kind of 1-to-1 what I just explained right there. Now, the thing would be, what do you walk away with when you leave the theater? Is it like, okay, let's say it's an event, quote unquote, based on real life, and you get that same scenario where, like, okay, I can see who's causing the whole chaos to happen in the first place, right? Some people might walk away from the theater with, like, man, those guys fucking, they just threw a grenade in there. Like, damn, this is fucked up. Look at the tragedy of what happens to our soldiers over there, man. These guys are these people over there are ruthless, right? Which could be the case in certain scenarios, for sure. But they might miss the whole scope of, like, what happens in U.S. foreign policy and over there's foreign policy, which, let's be real, the way we describe it in America is that there is no foreign policy. It's just with some maybe with these groups like Al Qaeda or ISIS, like, oh, there's just no. It's lawlessness, bro. There is no code or anything. It's just fuck Americans, fuck them for their freedoms, blow them up, shoot at them, kill them, whatever. So, once again, if you're of the mindset, or if you get really butthurt or upset about someone questioning what they're seeing in the movie, I don't think that's fair, man. Because they might be considering those ideas of, damn, when you show who does what first, it actually creates a scenario in your mind to be like, yo, that's the bad guy because they shot first. These other guys were just there, like, just trying to be protective, right? It's the other guys that became aggressors and caused all the problems. Even if that's actually the case that happened in real life. Because we know that's not the only incident in warfare, period. As the title says, right? Warfare. So I think that's more important to me to say off rep, right? That's what I wanted to start this video with. But all right, cinematically, it's brutal and shocking, and it definitely tries to grab your attention. And they show certain elements that are, I guess, a part of real warfare. I'm sure some people have seen, like, Collateral Murder, right? They've seen that video where you see, like, the kind of the flying footage of an area, right? Where it's, like, in black and white. You're seeing, like, little dots run around. You're like, okay, those are fucking human beings. It's like, yeah, that's I guess they're trying to capture that somewhat. And it's I guess they got some of the realism down in regards to that, or some of the injuries, right, in the movie are very dramatic and drastic. But I don't think you walk away with the actual. I mean, I guess they're trying to show the cost of war, but I don't think they. I don't know. I think they don't say why it's a bad thing, though. Not really. It's like, it's bad that someone got shot at, but once again, if you have a bad guy, if you have an evildoer doing it, then it kind of kills that notion of, like, the whole act of war is bad. Which is like, yeah, hey, if that's their perspective, go ahead and make a movie about it. But for me personally, I can't leave my thinking or my personality or my opinions out of it. So it's like, But yeah, I can't see, I can't go with, the idea of, like, people's, like, legs being blown off or whatever the fuck as like, man, it's so cool, such great cinematography, so beautiful, so cool. I can't do that either because it's based on probably some guy who got his actual legs blown off, man. It is what it is. But what I can say is, I will say, at least from the U.S. soldiers' perspective, it felt like a real capturing of something. It felt real, like I felt like, not that I knew the characters, but more so, you can empathize with how shitty it was to be there. Probably, I think you can get that from the movie at the very least, and that's probably the most I can give it for me personally. That's probably the most I can give it. Uh, how shitty it would be to be some guy born in fucking Kansas, walking around wherever they were. I said Ramadi yesterday. Some people brought up Fallujah, but let's be real. There's a lot of platoons and a good amount of soldiers that went over there to Iraq and Afghanistan. There's still soldiers there to this day, right? In Iraq, in Afghanistan, there's still soldiers there. Let's be honest. But not, yeah. This is like the height of the war, 2006. Maybe not the height, but it's a part of the height of the fucking war. And yeah, it's terrible what these guys went through. It's just, I think the people there went through some shitty things as well, which may have been not as looked at in the movie, which would be scary for me to say. Like, that's a scary proposition for me as a moviegoer, considering I know more about the foreign policy of the situation, what happened politically, and some people say almost 1 million died, others say over 1 million Iraqis died. Either way, that's horrendous, right?
3 million. I
Well,
heard 3 million.
either way, it's fucking horrible.
We lost 50,000.
Yeah, either way, it's fucking horrible. Maybe that was their goal. Maybe that was the movie's goal, was to scare young people watching this and be like, do you really want to go to war? Huh? Do you really want to go to war? This is what it looks like. These aren't kids from this isn't video footage of 1945, right? Where it's like, oh, those are ancient people fucking doing things. Like, no, this is 2006, right? Or you're gonna hear music that you've heard before in your lifetime. Like, that's still somewhat kind of modern in your lifetime. You can hear like colloquial language from around your time period, the way they talk. So maybe that's what they were doing with that. I can't say I know, but yeah, there's not much to say for me. There's not much to say as far as like quality of writing, quality of cinematography, like quality of this or that. Like no, it was brutal cinematography wise. And writing wise is like, I think it's just based on a scenario, right? They probably have military reports that they're using and all that shit. Good?
Was it like, was the footage like us beating the Iraqis, or was it the Iraqis like pinning down Americans, or what?
Yeah, like guys, American soldiers, like kind of pinned down, and someone were getting fucked up, and they had to find a way to like escape. That's what it seemed more like.
Okay.
From,
So it's kind of like the Black Hawk Down kind of version of,
a little bit, yeah.
like, how we were heroic even though we still were in a losing situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see.
Yeah, that
like,
still sounds like propaganda.
Well, here's the thing where I'll be fair is that the tagline of the movie, and like one of the directors is an Iraq war veteran. I assume one of the survivors. And the tagline for the movie is everything is based on memory. And the name of the movie is Warfare. All right. So yes, it'll be pointed towards the side. And it'll be probably the most, it has to be a gruesome story, otherwise it won't cover it, right? If those guys had a clean day where they ate lunch and just like, all right, we just patrolled this area, we're good now. If that's all that happened, it wouldn't be made into a fucking movie, right? It wouldn't be, we wouldn't hear about it.
Were we portrayed as the good
Were they
guys.
betrayed?
Were we portrayed as the good guys in this?
By default, yes.
Okay. So it's propaganda because we were the bad guys. We were the baddies in the Iraq War and Afghanistan.
Well, I'm not going to deny people's personal experience at all. I would not deny that either. As much as I think
No, I'm
the
saying
government's
we were
policy was
we
terrible.
were there under false pretenses.
I
We
agree.
invaded a country.
I agree.
So they're the ones that are actually in defense, and the defender is always the one in the right. The aggressor is always the one in the wrong.
But that's not how. Once again, if they betray it, let's say they're being blatantly honest, right? And they see what we see is the first attack we see is a grenade rolling into the room where the American soldiers are. Then it would look like, oh, the other guys are the aggressor. And they might forget the context that, hold on, they might forget the context that these guys, that this farm guy from Kansas is now in fucking Fallujah somewhere, or in Baghdad, or in fucking, I think it was Ramadi was the city or whatever. Now it's like, wait a minute, what are these guys doing here? Right? But once again, it's like a trick of narratives. And you can kind of walk away with that from a movie theater by saying, like, who shot first? Right? Like, in that scenario, they're just there, right? We don't see the whole build up to it. We don't see the reasons why they're there. We don't see any of that shit. What we see is that they are there. And what happens is a grenade rolls into their fucking room and some bullets go off. And people get fucked up over it. Right?
That's what I'm saying is propaganda because it's ignoring them.
I mean, yeah. Unless, once again, well, if I had to guess, this movie definitely got funding or script approval stuff from like, the Pentagon and shit like that, right? Intelligence agencies, in order to use like certain equipment, certain maybe I don't know, copyrighted things, maybe I don't know. I would have to believe that, but if let's say that wasn't there, and these guys are just saying their own personal experience, right? Where they didn't know any of that stuff, right? They're just like, oh, we're trying to protect people, so we're here, all right? And then a grenade rolls into their room, and that's their experience of it. That'd be fair. I wouldn't call that propaganda, right? I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't. Not that I believe that. I'm just saying.
What you got to do is you got to take your perspective out of our country, and you got to put it somewhere else. So Japan attacking China in World War II, and the years before that, and then like they made a film just like this, but for the Japanese guy being the invader of China, looking like he's just some guy that's a soldier that just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time when a grenade comes rolling in the room.
Yeah.
And you got to feel bad for the Japanese guy.
If they add all the
Because some
context,
Chinese
which is
people
not
are-
what they're gonna do, bro.
Some Chinese people are getting invaded by Japan, and you got to feel bad for the Japanese soldiers now.
If they don't show that, like once again,
That's how you know it's propaganda.
well, they might not be
Because
allowed.
once you take it out of the perspective of this is your country, and you place it into some other country's foreign escapade or whatever, or you could go back in history and you do it with the War of the Roses, England or France, and see the same kind of scenario but with swords.
Yeah.
And bows.
Yeah, sure. It's just,
And if
would this movie get made? Who knows? If it was
right, don't just if you don't really go to who was the defender and the aggressor in the War of the Roses or in the Battle of Japan versus China, yeah, it's gonna be propaganda in some sort of way.
yeah, which is why I said when they leave the theater, hopefully they don't just think of it as cop pulling someone over and then who caused the aggression type shit. Like whatever the movie tells us, right? Whether it's the cop in that scenario or the the guy who got pulled over. Don't just run away with
Right.
whatever the movie gave me. Like, look up what you think is.
Right.
Yeah, what do
Feel
you think of
bad
these
for
things?
who I tell you to feel bad for versus
Yeah,
the actual historical. Why are these guys here and those guys there?
exactly. Exactly. I'm sure there's plenty of people paying attention to that. What's the kid's name? I know his name because of the basketball player, but Carmelo Anthony, right? The kid and the other kid he stabbed, right? If they made a movie about it before the trial ended, all that shit, right? Say they made a movie about it, and they can make you look at it from one way or another, dude. They can really change the whole scenario based on like, okay, who was the aggressor? What happened here? Was it self-defense? Was it this or that? Like straight up, that can happen.
Right.
So
Apparently, the father of the dead one of that just got thrown out of some town hall.
I heard arguments yesterday where people were like, or it was actually Harrison who said it. He's like, yo, well, there's like you can't be within whatever amount of distance from these people, right? If you're the dad, right? You can't be within certain distance because of court orders, right? So if you show up, they might have to call the cops. Like they call the cops on you because you got within a distance that you're not supposed to be around, right? For the court's sake, right? For the sake of like influence or whatever, right? Or intimidation. Not saying
Yeah.
that the guy would do that, but
Well, he's on bond. He's on bond. It's a no contact order he's got. So
yeah.
they can't be around each other. That would revoke his bond. So
Yeah.
So
Even if the dad wanted to go up and hug
They
him,
were both.
right?
They were both at this town hall. The dead kid's dad, and then the
I think the dad showed up
guy that was
knowing what was going on, maybe. Like, oh, I want to talk like
Okay.
people. That might have been his idea. Like, oh, I want to talk like a person, like a human being, and that would actually like break maybe the court order, right? Even if he wanted to go up and hug someone, right? Like, oh no, I just want to hug you to let you know, like this ain't like some revenge thing. It's all good. Like we just want
well,
answers or whatever the fuck, right?
restraining orders. Restraining orders work as in whoever's there first gets to be there. And if I see that they're there and I'm the second one there, I'm supposed to leave on my own accordance.
it's
I
it's
don't
not
know
exactly
exactly.
a restraining order. It's a bond condition. It's like you have no contact with the victim or the victim's family.
Well, that's how that works. That's how that works. Is whoever's there first, if they see that the other one's there, it's on you as the one that showed up. You're supposed to be the one that leaves.
So if this
arrive there
was
second,
this is gonna be a joke that people are gonna hate me for, but whatever. So if there's like PlayStation 6 came out, like you might get fucked out of a PlayStation 6, right? Like if you like you try to get
if you're
there,
both waiting in the same line,
if you're both
both
rushing
waiting
to
in
the
the same
store, it's
line.
like fuck. No. Is it worth it?
yeah, yeah.
Sorry
you're
guys,
supposed
sorry.
to-
Dark joke. Forgive me.
right. And if you won't leave, then you're the one in the wrong.
Yeah. But alright. Either way, let's move on. Do I recommend the movie? I think I do, actually. Even if people consider it propaganda, I think, man, I'm thinking from my own fucking, you know, my own glasses, my own vision of things, right? Where it's like I can watch this and not be moved in a direction like that, right? And I can also, I don't know, I can't exactly say pure propaganda because it could be just showing the horrors of war, maybe from an American's perspective, right? And this movie's made for Americans, let's be honest. And they show Americans this, and like, yo, this is what happens in war. Are you sure you're okay with this? Are you sure you're down? Are you sure you want to sign up for the military? Yada, 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 right? So if that's their perspective, once again, I'm not trying to, either way, I wouldn't shit on it. Like, other than propaganda, because propaganda is just dishonest, right? That's fully dishonest if you're trying to do propaganda. But if you're trying to say a perspective that you believe in, that's fine to me. And there's no like overt craziness. I think I mean, there's crazy like things that are meant to like pull at your heartstrings for sure, or like, oh fuck, what the fuck just happened? It's very brutal and a lot of blood and gore happening. But I think if you're just sensible and have a critical thinking, have a critical mind, I think you're fine. I think you can watch this and be fine. Without me knowing their intention. That's what I'm like. I can't say I know their intention. It doesn't feel like American Sniper, where that felt like straight up just vibe. It just felt like propaganda to me, vibe wise. It did. This one feels a lot more cold. Like cold. Here's the events, but the events lean in a certain direction. All right, I'll say that. Doesn't look like Michael Bay. All right, but it does. But the events do lean in a direction. All right. My grade. Damn, man. I'm gonna give this a. Once again, for me, I gotta give it like a 6.5, 6.6 out of 10. That's where I'm at. Once again, a cold-blooded accounting of someone's perspective during a military event, and they try to keep it as realistically military as possible. But for me, it's like I could just watch documentaries for that. What the freak? What are we doing? In fact, actually, my recommended thing, I recommend watching documentaries, as many as you can, about the war on terror and the war in Iraq. Watch as many documentaries as you possibly can. I recommend that over this movie. What's up?
Would you say it was more closer to a reenactment than?
I think that's what they were going for. I think what the movie was going for was a reenactment of what these guys experienced. That's my guess. Which to me should be documented. It should be a part of cinema. But once again, if it's just to try to trick people into loving war or something, I didn't get that impression really. But let's say it was. It's just saying like, yo, America was the good guys, and these crazy Muslims are trying to just kill everyone. If you want to go with that, if they were trying to do that, then fuck those guys. They're trash, right? They're assholes for that. But if it's just soldiers that experience something, and they try to like, reenact it for a movie for the sake of like, yo, try to capture what I went through, that's fine. I don't mind that. There was no da-da-da-da fucking music and shit like that. It was like very cold. Like I said, very cold and like trying to be almost like a stoic take. If that makes sense. Instead of like a glorifying, it's like stoic almost. But go ahead.
Did you see Lone Survival or Lone Survivor?
With Mark Wahlberg, yes, I have. That is a little bit. That's a more of a like fuck it, like we're super soldiers. We could do shit like this. Watch this, right? This movie, I don't think was that, right? Or American Sniper was a lot. It seemed like a lot of justification type stuff. Although I think you can get hints of that in this movie too, but I don't think it was like American Sniper was. I don't think it was like that. I think that was like a little bit different of a justification. But all right, there you go. I'm gonna recommend, but I would say watch as many documentaries as you can before you watch the movie. And I'm gonna give it a grade of a 6.5, 6.6. That's where I'm at. All right, there's your review. Warfare 2025. Enjoy it.